the NFL draft on next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. Now, it's like you wait all year for the draft, and then it gets here, and that night comes, and it's just a complete, like, crazy thing, and it comes and goes so fast. You're sitting there on that last Saturday just going through, like, the 6th round, and you're almost like, when is this thing going to be over? But you're waiting all year for the draft, here it is. And here is Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast who joins us now. You missed it. We were discussing whether or not – because Jalen Hurts has been named by Time Magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Not even athletes, people in the world, to which I was more perplexed by the fact that Time Magazine still existed. I didn't even realize that, like, they were still pumping out material. Like when you would go to the doctor, you go to the doctor's office. We were talking about the Seinfeld episode where Jerry and Kramer were perplexed that they had Penthouse magazine in the waiting room there.
Yeah, I was a little surprised myself. I had forgot. Do they? Is that the magazine that still does like Sexiest Man Alive, or is that a different magazine?
No, I think that's like People. This one is like the Man of the Year. Okay. This one's so Jalen Hurts named one of the 100 most influential people in the world. I mean, to which I ask you, like, does Hurts resonate as an NFL, like, nationally?
Yeah, I think he does. I mean, he's I mean, he doesn't resonate because of his personality. He resonates because of this, right? I mean, he's constantly on prime time because the Eagles are constantly on prime time, and he's the quarterback of the Eagles. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won one. I hate the word outplayed, but he played really, really well in the game that they lost in the Super Bowl. He is a great story because he's a 2nd-round pick who's won a Super Bowl and been to 2. I think the influential part is interesting. I would say that's an interesting term to use, and I think, without having read the article or what their rationale is, I mean, this is a person who is constantly in front of the cameras and surrounds himself with not only good people, but like ideals and principles. You know, he talks a lot about the women in his life. His mother, his agent is a woman, supporting women. So from that standpoint, you can see influence. If kids who like Jalen Hurts see that and believe that doors that he's opening are doors that can be opening for them, whether it's a young child, a young woman, or anything like that, or if they see that and learn something from his lifestyle, his perseverance. I think influential is an interesting word that certainly can apply to him. I just don't know how you measure that so quickly, right? I mean, usually a person's impact on a society or their influence on social life takes a couple of years to really see, you know?
And I found it to be interesting because I think if you went around, Green Bay and L.A. and, Cincinnati and Detroit and Houston and said, give me the top 5 quarterbacks, are they saying is Jalen Hurts like at the top, the forefront for NFL fans?
It's a good question. I mean, we'll have to see the top-selling jersey when they release those. I don't think he ordinarily has been, but he could be now because his popularity is obviously soaring. So we'll see. I'm trying to think like Michael Jordan being one of the most influential athletes of the 90s. Was he considered influential after the first championship? I feel like he was a rising star, and certainly the Nike branding made him one of the most influential sports athletes of our generation because he had his own shoe, he had his own symbol, right? He was the jump man. He basically helped that company launch itself into a new stratosphere. So that's why I'm wondering where time is, what criteria time is using for Jalen Hurts as the most influential athlete. Tiger Woods, influential right from the start for a multitude of reasons. I probably should read the article and see what they use as their determining factors.
Yeah, I'm not 100% what the, how the list was put together, but just hearing him on that list, like you're thinking, okay, Patrick Mahomes, that makes some sense, and because like I see the Kelsey brothers in every commercial that there possibly is. I saw Aaron Rodgers. I saw Baker Mayfield. I saw plenty of other people. I don't remember having Jalen Hurts like slamming me over the head, being a part of all these different,
You're familiar with Dominic Raiola, right? The quarterback of the University of Nebraska. He's the son of the offensive lineman who plays for the Lions. Yeah, the whole thing on him is he looks exactly like Patrick Mahomes, from the haircut to just the facial resemblance, and then how he's wearing red and white too, being Nebraska. So you can point to influence. I mean, he wants to be and look, and maybe it's a little bit of a bit and a gag, but whatever. He plays quarterback like Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes is a Wheaties box kind of guy. He's a 3-time champion. He's MVP. So I don't know yet that I've seen this subculture of people who want to be Jalen Hurts more than that they just think he's a really good quarterback and a very successful quarterback. Same thing with like Steph Curry. People wanted to shoot threes all day long because of Steph Curry. That made him a very influential athlete on the game, on the fan base. Kobe, same way. So I'm wondering if I don't think I've seen it like that with Jalen, but it's again 3 or 4 years from now, who knows?
All right, Geoff Mosher here from Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. And, of course, by the way, Jalen Hurts, MVP of the Super Bowl. That puts you on another level. Other sports figures on the list, Serena Williams, Simone Biles, Breanna Stewart, and Nafisa Collier. So not a bunch of, football players or baseball players or people that, that you've basically at the tip of your tongue. But Jalen Hurts, one of them. Kind of interesting there. All right, our old buddy Jordan Ronan was doing a Instagram Q&A and had a very interesting thing to say. I don't know if you heard this or not. Have you heard the audio of this yet?
I haven't.
All right.
I have not. That guy's a clown. That guy Jordan's a clown. No, I'm just kidding. He's a good friend.
Here is Jordan, who used to cover the Eagles, so knows that organization a little bit, but he has been on the Giant beat for some time. ESPN's NFL Nation. Here's what Jordan said.
Tight end's a position they look at for sure. As a matter of fact, I heard at one point they looked into Dallas Goedert. He sounds like a guy that's going to get traded at some point in the draft. Now, I'm not expecting Dallas Goedert to get traded to the Giants, but the fact that they checked in on it definitely made me scratch my head a little bit. Right, we're talking Dallas Goedert with the Eagles in a trade. He's probably going to get moved somewhere during this draft.
Would there be any scenario you could see the Eagles trading Dallas Goedert in the division?
Yeah, give him a first-round pick.
Oh,
hey, you said any scenario, Michael.
Okay.
Listen, they traded Donovan McNabb to the the then called Redskins. They have traded interdivision before, have they not? I feel like there's another trade that I'm not thinking of.
Last year they traded to get Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, right. Well, of course. And then, that goes back to Kevin Cobb, right? They traded with the Cowboys in that draft to move down to then take Kevin Cobb in the second round. The Cowboys got a first-round pick out of that. So if they get what they want, they would do it.
They have moved with teams on draft day for picks, but generally not players.
No, generally not players. But, if they got the right – I think the Eagles are the type of organization that – if they got the value they were looking for, they would trade him within the division.
By the way, when they got Devontae Smith, they traded with the Cowboys to move up to that spot. Do you think Goddard could be a chip on draft day to move up or to fill other needs? Or is he just strictly, hey, we'll take a fourth if we get one, but likely a fifth or sixth?
Yeah, I think it's more likely that he'd be the post-draft trade when the team that was hoping to get a tight end did not, and then re-engage discussions with the Eagles.
It'll be interesting to see if on draft day they even get a fourth, because that's basically was reported what the ceiling or the hope was. You generally don't get your hope. If you know that's what you want, I don't think teams are making calls and say we're going to start out with that generally, right? Hey, I know you're looking for a fourth. We don't have that. We'll give you a sixth.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I think very early on, Jacina Anderson was quick to report on that the Eagles were already kind of understanding that they may have to take a future pick. It might make more sense for them than taking a pick now for the draft.
Let's see. We got some more questions for Moshe. Do you think the Eagles should be looking to draft a tight end 2 to prepare for life after Goddard?
No. Yes. No. Yes, they should be looking to draft tight end 2 regardless. No, it doesn't have to be life after Dallas Goedert. What is their depth behind Dallas Goedert?
Okay, so can you explain to the listeners the reason why this is even a subject? Why do they want to, or do they want to? Why is he not happy? Do they not want to pay him what? Break down why this is a scenario.
I mean, there's a couple reasons, and listen, Dallas Goedert's camp and Dallas Goedert have not come out and said anything, and it's just good reporter information and speculation as well, some of it. But he enters the last year of his deal, right? Do the Eagles want to give him an extension? Probably not. Why not? Because he's hurt quite a bit, despite him being a good player. And he's getting to that age. I think he's going to be 30, 31 coming up. Yeah. So this is the time where you either make a decision that you're going to go ahead with a guy or you're not. And from a player standpoint, a player usually says, hey, there's no guaranteed money in the last year of my deal. I need security. I'm not going to play. You see this all the time. Players don't play when there's no guaranteed money in the last year of his deal. So there you have the situation between Goedert and the Eagles. Does Goedert want to play the last year of his deal with no guaranteed money? What if he gets hurt in training camp and he gets cut? They don't owe him anything. You know what I'm saying? So that's sort of the situation that faces both entities in this situation.
Yeah, does Goddard say, I don't want to play at this number because Trey McBride just got that. I'm sitting out. Like, if Goddard said, I'll play on this contract, are the Eagles resistant to that?
I think the Eagles would like to get value for him and not just have him walk away. But then again, if he just played the last year of his deal, walked away, played it at that number, they could get a compensatory pick in the next draft. So they would probably get something for it. I'm sure the Eagles would be fine with that. But remember, the Eagles are also trying to spend less cash. So if he's on the roster and does play out this final year, they do have to pay him cash, which is fine, except for the fact that, like, when you're paying cash for someone, you kind of generally want that. You want to know you're going to have a guy for another year, a year after. It's like you don't want to pay a boatload of cash for 1 year for a guy.
Any of the I know you guys talked about this on ITB the other day, the defensive line prospects that are out there. I think you guys, Walter Nolan's the one guy. I think Nolan's the very interesting guy to watch on draft day because he's got the off-the-field stuff, so he might fall. So do you get to sit and wait? Or when he falls to a certain spot, do you make your move? And that's to me, he's one of those guys. Outside of him, I don't know that there's a guy that, hey, you're just not hearing a whole heck of a lot about, but if he's there, I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, it's a possibility, Mike. I mean, that certain spot is sort of easier reconciled in your head than done. Like if that spot is 25, that seems pretty low for Walter Nolan. Like I feel like his talent, speak to people, they say more than he could be a top 25 pick, but going from 32 to 25 is a pretty big jump. That's 7 spots, right? I'm doing math correctly, I think. I'd be like going from 25 to 18 or 18 to 11. That's you got to give up some draft haul for that. So if he gets lower than 25 and then 27, then yeah. But then also, so do a lot of other teams start to get really interested, and then you sort of get that who's going to offer me the best deal.
Of the guys that the defensive line prospects that the Eagles are looking at, any of them intrigue you? Have you heard anything that stands out about some of the prospects that they've looked at there?
Defensive line, yeah. I mean, I love this defensive tackle class. I mean, I think the Oregon kid, Derek Harmon, could be a very good player for them. Darius Alexander out of Toledo, a defensive tackle, will probably go in the second round, maybe early third, but has all the, Greg Cosell likes him, has the size, has the athleticism, has the only thing you would say he doesn't have is the pedigree playing at Toledo. I don't want everybody to make the Quinyon Mitchell comparisons. We know Quinyon Mitchell was, he dominated. And I'm not saying that Darius Alexander didn't. Darius was very good, but just because Quinyon Mitchell came from Toledo and was successful doesn't mean every single FCS player now is just going to come up and dominate. in the NFL, but he is a player that I like. I think the Ohio State tackle, Tyleik Williams, honestly, Mike, there's a lot of good interior defensive linemen. It's a weird class because for whatever reason, it's like they're not as productive from a sack department as you would ordinarily like, but they have the production as far as tackles or the size, the speed, the athleticism, the hand size. I mean, there are good defensive tackles in this draft, and I think any one of them would be good for the Eagles.
Yeah, the Nolan thing, I guess, is the interesting one. You said, I've seen him in mock drafts from 15 to 32 to the second round. So that's a player, though, like, I don't know. I'm interested to see. Do you think the Eagles want to upgrade Jordan Davis? In other words, make him have a lesser role?
Well, that sort of makes the other Michigan kid, Kenneth Grant, kind of interesting because he's a 330-pound guy, so he can play over the center in that nose tackle position. And then the Tyleik Williams kid is 334. He can play 3 technique and nose. So I think either one of those two would be guys who could play head up over the center in the middle of the 5-man front that Jordan Davis plays on first and second down. And yes, I do think if the Eagles could get someone like that and it makes sense for them, but also think that this guy can play, 3 technique and be an interior pass rusher in a 4-man front, that they would like that.
All right, Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast. We are almost exactly 1 week to draft day. Can you wait? Are you ready?
I think I have no choice, Mike.
Well, I mean, I love the draft. Like, I love it. It's just they moved it back, and it's like so deep into April now, where it feels like, man, because by now the schedule used to be out. I know they're trying to space this whole calendar out so that the NFL has constant talking points, but
yes, which is good for us, to be honest.
Sure, yeah. Well,
right.
I think the draft would be good this week. Right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I definitely wouldn't mind it. And the older I get, the more the draft to me becomes, it's the draft. It's fun. Yes, it's good. I get that everybody gets excited. But, when you find yourself saying the same things year after year, just the names change, strong hands, high motor, versatility. Like, it sort of lessens the enthusiasm. I think for media, I like still watching guys on tape and I like seeing what they're all about. But it's not like, other than Travis Hunter, it's not like you're seeing a whole lot of unicorns every year,
Well, and the big thing is because Howie's been here so long, yes, you get surprises, but he's very, I don't want to say predictable. He did say yesterday his biggest, I was laughing about this. A GM comes out and says, my biggest flaw, I lack patience. And most people would say, see, this guy stinks. He admits that he stinks at this thing. And this guy can come out and tell you what he stinks at. And people are like, whatever.
Yeah. Well, when you win 2 Super Bowls and go to 3.
Exactly. But I don't want to say the predictability, because Roseman is unpredictable that he'll make so many moves, but the predictability when he makes the selection sometimes. They're going to take an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, or that's what they just do,
Yeah. And sometimes there's some unpredictability in their predictability. What I'm saying is sometimes you're going to be like, there's just no way this year they're going to take another lineman. And then they do. And you're like, wow, I didn't think they could do that for the 11th straight year, but they do. So there's a little bit of that too. But I do think this year, Mike, just at 32, because the Eagles haven't really picked, I don't know the last time the Eagles picked a 32 because they traded out in 2018. I don't remember that. I don't think they've
never. They've only won the Super Bowl one other time. So they
right. Well, I mean, they've never even traded down with somebody who was at 32. No. So I do wonder if the Eagles stay there and pick, would a position like safety, inside linebacker, perhaps. I can't see it, but they definitely need it for the future. But safety, what else? Would those be positions that Howie would say, well, I'm not getting a first rounder here anyway, so I picked safeties and linebackers in the second round. This is like a second round pick, so I'll do it.
Well, we'll get out on this. What is the time frame that you draft someone because a guy is like Lane Johnson, for instance, who's aging? Mm-hmm. What is the time frame of how many, hey, this is the best player, even if I'm in the first round, he's a right tackle. I might not need him for 2 or 3 years, but this is the guy I want now.
I mean, theoretically, you're willing to take 1 year of a growth year like they did with Cam Jurgens, right? And even Landon Dickerson was drafted when they had Sayamalu and Brandon Brooks. It winds up that both of those guys got hurt, so Dickerson got in. But you can't go with a first or a second round pick 2 years without playing, unless it's a quarterback, right, like Jordan Love, because you have to make decisions on guys long term by the end of the third year. So you at least got to see, 1.5 years of some kind of development, production to give you that faith that you can then go ahead and give it a guy an extension. So really, you would like 1 year. I suppose with some linemen, you might go a year and a half, but you don't really want to get that far.
Gotcha. All right, good stuff. As always, more football conversation tomorrow, football at 4, right here on the Sports Bash Live. You can check out the Inside the Birds podcast if you want more football. And, of course, you can check it out right here every day at 4 o'clock on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Geoff Mosher, back Monday. See you, man.
See you, bud.